how a content lead approach improves B2B marketing. That's what we're diving into today. And before we wrap up, I'm going to share with you the one topic that everyone forgets to talk about and is one of the most important ones you should be publishing. So let's start here. I'm going to share with you what I really think about content marketing. Content marketing is not king. Content is a commodity, especially in the world of AI. In fact, you may have seen the content term thrown around of AI slop, and that's because AI is churning out really low quality content. And on top of that, it's really making everyone sound exactly the same. In fact, next time that you're on LinkedIn and you are scrolling through the feed, take a look at just how many posts now that you can tell have been written by AI, or at least put through the AI filter. And I know some folks think that's not a big deal, but in many ways, it's really watering down the uniqueness and the personalities, our unique voices that we're bringing to the table. So why is it then that folks often say content is king? Well, it's important. It plays a role. Just don't lose perspective that ultimately, as a professional services provider or expert that is selling to organizations, the thing that reigns supreme in your world is conversations with decision makers, conversations that create cash flow. If you're not in e-commerce, if you're not selling on Instagram through sort of impulse buys, then the most important thing for you is that any strategy that you utilize, including content marketing, is driving to real life engagement. By real life, it doesn't have to be in person. It can be over Zoom. It can be over the phone. But you need decision makers to want to spend time with you, to get into a conversation with you so that you can co-create with them a solution to whatever problem their organization is facing. So content in your world is not king. It is a tool that can help you create conversations, and it's the conversations that are ultimately going to be king in your business. All right, so let's talk about 4 ways that content marketing can be valuable to you, assuming that you're a small business, an expert that's selling to organizations. The first way is that it helps decision makers to find you. Organizations can't buy from you if they don't know about you, and you of course don't have a budget to take out ads during the Super Bowl. So the content marketing is going to help that decision maker identify you when they're out there searching for solutions and insights. Number 2, content marketing helps to influence the parts of the sales process that you're not involved in. About 80% of the sales process happens without you when you're not in the room to influence their thinking or to rebut any misconceptions or myths or pitfalls they may be falling into. The third reason is that it makes the invisible visible, especially if you do content marketing well. If you're a coach, a consultant, a services provider, sure, you can provide samples of your work product, but it's difficult for a decision maker to often envision what it would be like to actually work with you. So if there are photos of you working with your clients, photos of you speaking, there's video of workshops or trainings that you're leading, that makes invisible expertise visible, which really enables the sales process. Which brings me to the 4th thing, and that is sales enablement. Decision makers today don't make a decision to work with an outside coach, consultant, professional services provider like you in a vacuum. They consult with their team, with their peers, or even their boss. And the more content that you have to empower them in those conversations, to help them build the business case inside their organization for working with you, the higher your close rate is going to be. So given that, any content that you invest your precious time and resources into developing needs to do 3 things if you're talking to decision makers inside of organizations. The first thing your content needs to do is teach decision makers how and where to invest their time and their money if they want to solve a problem inside their organizations. We call this building the solution set. These are the solutions that decision makers should be considering if they want to solve an issue in their organization. I'm sure if you've been in business for even a few years, there's been a time when a decision maker has reached out to you. They've emailed you, they've called you, and they've said, we've decided that we want to do X. And you're thinking to yourself, how in the world did they possibly come to the conclusion that if this is their problem, the thing that they should be doing is this thing over here? It's because they weren't very good at building their best solution set to solve the problem. So as an outside expert, an outside thought leader, it's your job to educate the target market that you're talking to on where they should, in fact, put those precious resources inside their organization. The second thing that your content has to do is position you as a credible expert. But it's important to understand that just publishing tons and tons of content doesn't position you as a credible expert, especially if all of that content is a bunch of how-to information that's really geared towards individual contributors and first-line managers. To be positioned as a credible expert, you have to talk about the types of things that you are talking about in private conversations with senior level decision makers. It needs to talk about the types of results and outcomes that you're producing for organizations. It has to teach them internally how to build a good business case and overcome the organizational challenges that they have, not individual challenges. And the third and most important thing that your content marketing has to do is drive actual interactive engagement with you or members of your team. So you may be a solo expert, or you may be the founder of a boutique firm and you have someone who is dedicated to taking phone conversations with prospects. Either way, all the marketing that you put out in the world, all of that content serves one purpose, and that is creating a conversation with you and your team so you can best understand that decision maker's challenges, further educate them on the best way to solve it inside their organization, and ultimately co-create a solution and close the sale. All right, I've teased this a little bit already, but let's talk about 5 places where experts go wrong with content marketing. The first is utilizing B2C tactics in a B2B world. Make sure that any strategy you are using is designed for talking to decision makers inside of organizations, not solopreneurs or consumers. The second is spending so much time trying to build their own audience instead of leveraging audiences that have already been built. There are industry associations, professional associations, and other organizations that already have the attention of the very decision makers that you want to reach. And every single one of those organizations have magazines, webinars, newsletters, blogs, events, places that they need to fill with content. Just as much as you feel the need to create content, they all have a need to create content. And when your content marketing is on their platform, not only does it get you in front of senior level decision makers, it adds additional credibility. The third is using the wrong calls to action. This isn't about likes and followers. This is about getting decision makers to spend more time with you, attending webinars, joining you for your session at a conference. They need to actually get proximity to you and engage with you. The fourth mistake, and this is a big one now, is ignoring AI behavior. How do common tools like Perplexity and ChatGPT and others search for and identify content in order to answer the questions that decision makers are asking when they're on those tools? If you're creating content today and ignoring AI behavior, then you are losing ground and quickly will become invisible in this new AI world. And the fifth and final mistake, and this is the reason for 15 plus years I've been the naysayer around content marketing, is not because content marketing is bad. It's because it is very tempting as a small business owner to hide behind content marketing. to feel like you're actively growing your business as long as you're publishing content. When you're a business owner that's selling to decision makers inside of organizations, the thing that's going to create revenue for you above everything else is having conversations with decision makers. In fact, the only reason to do any kind of marketing at all is to create a conversation, because you're not in the business of e-commerce. People aren't coming to your Shopify website buying something for $20. Decision makers have to meet with you and sit down and co-create that solution if they're going to invest $20,000, $200,000, $2 million with your consulting firm or your coaching firm or services firm. So you can't hide behind content marketing. You can use it as part of your overall strategy, but don't let it be the thing that stops you from doing the most important thing, which are the conversations that create cash flow. So we've talked about why content marketing is important, and we've talked about mistakes to avoid. Let's talk a little bit about the content that you do want to put out. Here are 4 topics that you want to run on repeat. You're going to get tired of them, but the market will not. The first one is the organizational problem and all of the costs that are associated with that problem in terms of the cost to the organization. The second is the ideal solution set. What are the things that decision makers should be doing if they really truly want to put a dent in this problem or they want to solve it once and for all? Number 3, what are the pitfalls that companies fall into when they go about solving this problem? And what are some of the risks of the various solutions? Not all solutions are created equal. What are the pros? What are the cons? And number 4, the results. What are the types of results that organizations can expect to see when they're investing in solutions to solve this problem? Some of them may be obvious, some of them may not be so obvious, and just extra benefits to fixing said problem. Now, there's one more topic you want to make sure that you're talking about in your content, and that is the true investment that is required if an organization wants to solve their problem. I often hear from coaches and service providers and consultants that they're frustrated that decision makers don't have the budget that they need in order to solve a problem. They have a few $1,000s or $20,000, $30,000, when in fact what they need is more like $200,000 or $300,000. And I'll say to that coach or that consultant, I hear you, but let me ask you a question. If I were to go to your LinkedIn newsletter right now, if I were to go to your blog or your last webinar, is there an article there? Is there a webinar that talks about the investment that's actually needed in both time and money to truly put a dent in that organizational problem? And in all these years, prior to when I've given this talk somewhere, the answer to that has been zero. 0 articles from that consultant or that coach. They could not show me where they had written something or hosted a webinar saying to a decision maker, look, if you want to fix X, Y, and Z in your organization, it's going to take you at least 3 years. You're going to need a team of 10 people, and you're going to need to plan for at least $200,000 a year, because this problem didn't happen overnight. Your organization spent the last 5, 10, 15, 25 years creating this problem in the organization. We're not going to solve it in a half-day workshop or a 30-day coaching program or whatever the case may be. So if you're not talking to the market and truly educating decision makers on what they need to spend in all of their resources to finally extinguish this problem once and for all, thinking big term, right? This doesn't mean that's what they need to get started working with you. Because I know people are like, but Angelique, if I say that, then they're gonna think that they can't start working with me at $20,000, $25,000. That's not what I'm saying at all. As a thought leader, you need to help decision makers understand the big picture in solving their problem in their organization. All right, we've covered a lot about content marketing. One of the best platforms to have your content marketing on is LinkedIn, and that's why the next video that I want you to watch is how to get consulting clients on LinkedIn. I've dropped that link right below. Click on that now, and I will see you there.